Okay, first graph, sine of 2x. So the first thing you look at is the multiplier in front, which tells you about the amplitude. So the amplitude of this graph will be 1 unit. It will go 1 unit above and below the x-axis. The next thing we determine is the period. If the normal period is 360, you will either multiply or divide whatever the inverse is for what's being done to the angle. So this is a multiplier, so multiplying the angle by 2 cuts the length of the period in half. Now, important things to know about the period would be where would 1/4 of the period fall, 1/2, and 3/4. That's sort of corresponding to the 4 quadrants for the normal period. So the halfway point will be 90. Half of that would be 45, and then 3/4 would be 135. So what I do is I choose sort of a suitable scale to make my marks. So I will mark 45, 90, 35, whoops, 135, and 180 for me to complete my cycle of the sine graph. The sine graph begins at 0, reaches its maximum, comes back to 0, goes to minimum, and finishes out the cycle. So one period of sine is a bump, whoa, and a dip. Lovely. Let's try 2 sine of x. So this time you are looking at an amplitude of 2 units. So I have to make sure that my scale goes far enough. Oh, you know what, I'm going to move that. I'm going to move my scale so that I can fit it on this page. So I will call this 2, and this is 1, -1, and -2. Now, since there's no multiplier on my angle, that means the period's going to be the normal 360 degrees. So sine begins at 0, goes to the max, back to 0, min, and back to 0. So I can see one complete bump followed by a dip. Last one, let's try cosine of x plus 2. Amplitude should be 1. Period. There's no multiplier here, so normal period of 360. And this part right here is simply a translation. We're going to go up 2. That's called a vertical shift. +2, or up 2. Okay. Cosine graph normally begins at 1, crosses, min, crosses, and max. So I can almost sort of sketch that in just to see what the graph would look like with no transformations. So if everything's going up 2, it's going to start up here at 3. Instead of hitting 0, it'll go to 2, min, 1, back to 2, and back to 3. So the two curves look really quite parallel. because everything has been translated up 2 units. Alright, I hope you have some fun creating some of these nice sine and cosine graphs yourself.